Excellent. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. The time is 6:08. This is the Township of Springfield's Board of Adjustment meeting for October 15th, 2024. Adequate notice has been given in accordance with the Sunshine Law. Notice was published on December 13th in the Star Ledger, which is one of the official newspapers for the Township of Springfield, for the year 2023, and posted in the Annex Building on December 14th, 2023. Can we please stand to salute the flag? May we please have the roll call?
Yes. Good timing. Mr. Stephen Hochstein?
Here.
Mr. Michael Weckstein?
Here.
Mr. Stephen Furstenbaum? Ms. Marla Naparano? Mr. Peter Shewitz? Ms. Anika Dodson?
Here.
Vice Chair Mark Cunningham?
Here.
And Chair Jody Cohen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. Okay, the first order of business are resolutions that are up for memorialization. The first resolution is application 2024-18, 145 Short Hills Avenue, Block 608, Lot 10. Have the members had an opportunity to review the resolution? Are there any questions or comments? If none, is there a motion to adopt?
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Mr. Weckstein?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano? Yes. Mr. Shewitz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
And Chair Cohen.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next application up for memorialization is application 2024-1940 Ruby Street, Block 2902, Lot 40. Has every member had an opportunity to review the resolution? Are there questions or comments? If there are none, is there a motion?
I'll move. Second.
Who just seconded? Thank you. Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Mr. Weckstein?
Yes.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano? Yes. Mr. Shewitz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
And Chair Cohen.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Applications on this evening. The first application is application 2024-16. This is 39 Brook Street, Block 710, Lot 9. This is a continuation from our September 17th meeting. Is the applicant here? Hi, how are you? Come on up. Thank you. Yeah, let's swear them in, and then this is coming to us now, correct? Okay, so we'll start with,
You gonna both testify? Yes. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth? Yes. State your full name, spell your last name, state your home address.
Scott Marston, it's M-A-R-S-T-O-N. My address is 39 Brook Street, Springfield.
Thomas Marston.
I'm sorry, the first name?
Thomas.
Thank you.
Marston. Address is 1934 Buchanan Avenue in Croydon, Pennsylvania.
okay, so yes, the last time that you guys were here, welcome back. We wanted to see a rendering of what the front porch would look like and the front facade. So I think since this just came to us, we're gonna mark it into the record as an exhibit.
Yes, this will be A2. There was an A1, which were pictures marked at the first hearing.
Okay, so do you want to walk us through what you've given us here?
Yes, so you were asked for a rendering of what the project's going to look like, which we provided. The second question that was brought up was about the downspout leader, which in our first pictures, it appeared as though it went into the garden box that's there, but that's not the case. As you can see on the third page, it actually drains into the driveway, and goes down to a storm drain that's at the base of the driveway. So the new downspout's going to do exactly the same thing.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do we have questions for the applicant?
So you're getting rid of the planter that's there? And
Yes.
you're going to put a porch there
Yes.
instead?
Any other questions? No? Any members of the public have any questions? None? Okay. Excellent. Okay, I'm satisfied with this rendering. I think it looks beautiful. I would be in favor of granting the front yard variance request. I don't see any detriment to doing so. Any other board members? Is there a motion?
Motion to.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Mr. Shiwitz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Mr. Weckstein?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano? And Chair Cohen?
Yes.
Motion.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next application we're gonna call is application 2024-21, 76 Shunpike Road, block 1304, lot 11. This is a request for a lot coverage variance for a patio and driveway expansion. Is the applicant here? Hi, come on up. Good evening.
Good evening.
We're gonna swear you in.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
You have to answer out loud?
Yes.
Thank you. State your name, spell your last name, give your home address.
Ilanito Chayon, 76 Shunpike Road, Springfield, New Jersey.
David Ohayon, 76 Sean Pike Road, Springfield, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Okay, why don't you please walk us through what the request is and what you're looking to do on your property?
So I think the first one is about the front area that we increased it. And initially when we moved here, there was a tree in the middle of the front house. So we were not able to do a big, I guess it's a use circle for the cars. So we did as much as we can, following, of course, a permit. And now, not now, for a few years, I've been ruining every car I got because it was too narrow for me. So I asked for my husband to actually increase it, the space, so I can not ruin the tires. And also my son is getting his license, so it was, now he's practicing, he's trying to get his license, so it was hard for him as well. So we just expanded a little bit to make it really much comfortable. It's a main street also, so it's all these things where it was difficult for us when we used to park the car and getting out of the house when it was smaller.
Okay,
Is this something you want to do, or you've done it and you got caught? I don't know.
We did it.
We
what-
did it 10 years ago, all the circle there. But it was a big tree that the county is taking the trees, and because we don't have if the trees now was there in that time, probably we do it bigger, but we don't have a choice because the tree. And after we remove the tree, we just extend it in another 2 feet all around in the circle. This is something that we have maybe 11 years ago.
So this is done, and you're just
done.
asking?
Yes, we just extended, like another 2 feet.
Do you want to extend it more, or
No.
you did?
No. we
Perfect now.
No, we did it already. We did it already, yes,
Yes.
yes.
and the patio?
The patio is a pool, it's in the back. We
That-
want to do a pool in the back of the backyard.
That was not done.
That's not done.
Sorry, I was concentrating on the front first, so I wasn't sure if to
Yeah,
put,
because this, we apply for the permit, and they say you have like a lot cover. The problem doesn't, we go to the variance, we say, and we apply for to get a pool in the backyard.
So you want to put a pool in the backyard?
in the backyard, yes.
16 by 40, according to what I'm reading here? Is the backyard already fenced in?
Yes.
If you don't mind me asking, what kind of fence is it?
We have a vinyl fence and wood fence. It's a mix.
How high is the fence?
6 feet.
Excuse me?
6 feet.
6 feet?
Sorry, Mike, aren't they required, though, to put a fence around the pool? It's the perimeter of the pool,
Yeah,
inside.
new fences would require, Springfield has an ordinance far exceeding the state because of their unfortunate incident we had. So, yes, when they go to the building department, they'll have to provide a compliant fence.
Is there any kind of water management that you're putting in as far as like a dry well? Since you're going over coverage, do you find there's any requirement for that?
It is required, I think they're showing a drain, which would represent a dry well in the upper left-hand corner of the backyard.
So that would be something that you would have to approve their design of the dry well.
If you find in the affirmative, there can be a condition, but conceptually, that would work for this area.
Is there a filter or something here for that pool?
Is it what?
Filter.
Filter?
Filter, why
The
you?
pool equipment.
We not do
We
nothing
didn't
yet,
s-
we just get the size after some professional, bring all the design for the pool, but actually for that, in the backyard, actually, we have the stone, like a stone sewer running in the house, in that house. And for that engineer, just, my engineer do how we went here.
We don't need-
In response to your question, yes, there's, filter is required, has to be at least 10 feet from the property line. I don't see it identified in the plan. Again, when they go to the building department, they're going to be mandated to have a filter system for it.
And I assume that's on some kind of pad and stuff, so that would be actually a different lot coverage then, depending on.
Yeah.
Or it's insignificant.
It's insignificant, usually 2 feet by 3 feet, something like that.
The area around the pool, is that going to be grass, stone? Is there a deck back there?
It
What?
would be like a patio 3 feet around of the pool where is the water, and all the rest is big grass.
Will all be grass?
So the applicant is showing an infiltration, a stone trench around the perimeter of the pool, which then drains to a dry well or seepage pit. So conceptually, this is fine. We would check the sizing of it if you approve it.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, any questions for the witnesses from any member of the public? None. Anyone here wish to speak on this application? No. Okay. Board members?
I would be in favor of it if,
With the
with the
conditions?
conditions.
I'm in agreement. I'm in favor of it with the conditions that you meet with the engineering department to work through your drainage plans.
And we're approving in that same thing, the driveway? Or is that separate?
I think the total is the lot coverage, right, right, with the patio and the driveway, so. Yeah, so in total, it was at 39.3, and they're going to 42.3% coverage. It's a 2x3 pad. So, okay, if everyone, or if anyone else is in favor and would like to make a motion,
I'll move to approve.
A second.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Mr. Eckstein?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano? Yes. Mr. Schewitz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
And Chair Cohen?
yes.
Motion
Good luck, congratulations.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night, thank you.
Next application is application 2024-22, 140 Hillside Avenue, block 2901, lot 40. It's a request for a side yard variance and height variance for a fence and shed. Excuse me, sorry. Good evening, how are you? Okay, we're gonna swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Swear to tell the truth.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, give your home address.
Olga Suvarov, 140 Hillside Avenue, Springfield, New Jersey.
Slava Suvorov, 140 Hillside Avenue, Springfield, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Would you like to walk us through what you're proposing to do and your reasons for the relief that you're requesting?
We completed the project. It's basically done. We have two variances. One is the height of the fence in the back of the yard because we had to level the property. It was very slopey to level the yard. My contractors built the retaining wall and put the fence on top of it. So it's all even height around the backyard. That's one. And the second one is the shed. We had the shed on the same exact spot. We used exact the same concrete slab because they managed to knock it down during the excavation process. So we had to build something new to replace it in the exact the same spot, and it was too close to the neighboring properties. The 10 feet, closer than 10 feet to the property line.
I'm actually very confused by your drawing here. According to your chart, you have less coverage than before? And it says permeable pavers?
Yeah, so the pool doesn't count, the permeable pavers count as 50%. What they did is they removed, in the front of the house, they had a loop driveway, sort of like two driveways, it was removed. So the zoning officer and myself had gone out to the site to inspect it. It had been cleared from zoning to do the pool and the like, but these two issues popped up upon the final inspection, which was on the survey, you see the shed or the frame shed there. It expanded in size, which violated the side yard setback, and then there was a fence placed on top of a wall, and in combination, the height of the fence wall, looking at it from neighbor's point of view, is over 6 feet. So those are the two things of relief they seek. Pool's in, it's compliant, and so you can ignore that. It's the shed building to the right was expanded, and it's in the side yard setback after the fact, and the fence wall combination is approximately 9 feet at its highest, and 6 feet is the maximum permitted.
It's 32 inches higher on the back line, not all around the backyard.
So the one question I have, I know there's a lot of issues with water runoff and neighbors and stuff. When you put this patio in the back, did you do any kind of water management so that mitigate the damage?
Yes, it's fully
or,
permeable and it's,
Retaining wall and everything is set up.
the mic clear this out in terms of the amount of gravel and the water management system. It's actually better now because if it was so sloppy, all the water was running off to the neighbors, and now we are managing it in-house, so to speak.
Yeah, there's a massive amount of stone under the pavers. We have the tickets to verify it. We did a water test where we flooded it, and, water basically went straight down, so.
That gravel will be in my nightmares for the rest of my life, probably.
If anybody needs it, we still have it.
Still have some. Yes, and if we cut the fence, the thing is, all our neighbors in the back, they have their own fences, back to back to back to back. So when they are outside, they see their own fence and not ours, which is 32 inches higher. You can see it from the second floor, probably, that it's a bit higher, but not when you're in your backyard.
How tall is the retaining wall that the fence sits on?
32 inches.
32 inches? Okay.
And it's only like the back line. It gradually kind of increases in height.
If the new shed replaced the existing footprint, was it always a variance issue?
It was an existing non-conforming, yeah. It's just that the size got larger, hence the massing in the side yard setback, so they need the relief.
So is the relief, I'm sorry, one second, so is the relief actually the 5 feet, or is it less than that? Because the existing says 5, but when you say it's expanded, did it actually go?
It went in the
Further
front
into
a
the-
little bit, not in the back.
Yeah, it's on the side of the shed, it continued that line. So it's, unfortunately, it doesn't meet the required accessory structure side yard setback. It's the same, essentially the same as existing, but because they increased the size of it, they have to ask for the relief of that.
So how far is the shed actually from the side?
I think it's 5 feet, and it was 5 feet from the side yard property line.
Just because of your sketches, the scale of the stuff, it's really hard to, because
Oh,
you have
there-
5 feet in one spot, and then you have, and 10 feet. It's hard to,
The shed increased in size maybe a few square feet because we had to cut the back corner because of the tree. So it's not regular rectangle. So it's a little bit more in the front that faces the patio, but in the back it's actually cut because there is a tree there.
What size is the shed there now?
I think I can. Give me a sec.
Mr. Hoxton, I would assume it's about a 4-foot setback. I scaled it based upon the other measurements.
with, I think if it's closer than 5 feet, you can't have any windows on that.
There are no windows.
There's no windows?
No windows.
That would, not a zoning, building department.
So what size is the current shed?
The old one was 17 by 8, I think. The new one is just a little bit deeper, but same in the width. 10 or by 12. I know that I have an exact measurement here.
So if we were to approve this, does a construction office come out and check to make sure that it's compliant to construction?
Absolutely, yeah.
The shed that you're proposing, well, it's there already, is it on the ground or is it on a pad? Is it on?
It's on the same concrete
Same
slab
concrete
that we
slab,
had
yeah.
before.
All right.
Basically, the previous concrete slab, it was a smaller shed and a little bit of concrete in front of it. So we used the entire area, and right now it's 15 by 12 with the cut side on the right-hand side. So it's not exactly 250, it's less. 156 square feet.
Any other questions from the board?
So with the fence, the requirement is 6 feet, but you're 32 inches over the 6 feet?
In the back, yes, because it's sitting on top
Because
of the
it's on
retaining
the
wall.
retaining wall.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture it.
Would it help? I have more.
Do you have a picture of the fence? No, like, cause you're saying it's 6 feet and then it goes up, but it's only up there, so it's, cause it's on top of the retaining wall here, but the sides are all within 6 feet?
It's, when you're in the backyard, it's all the same. It's all the same height. Just because the yard was sloping gradually, the retaining wall was built from zip to 32 inches across the side. Actually, one side, because the right-hand side was pretty much flat.
So it sloped,
It used to be sloped.
and then you filled,
We filled, we leveled, we filled it with,
and the retaining wall sits to the level, and then you have 6 feet.
So with the retaining wall's only on the back.
Your survey is 16 years old. Have there been any changes to the footprint displayed on this property?
no, it's our first outdoor project.
I'm sorry?
It's our first project.
So there are changes.
Well, not since, this is our first change since we bought the house.
What has changed?
The pool, the patio, we cut the backyard of the driveway. The survey is from, before.
The survey is from before you bought the house.
Before we bought the house and before we started this project.
So there's a lot of changes since this was drafted.
Yes, but I provided, we applied for the construction permit and it's all there.
Who drew this?
I can
This,
see, I'm sorry.
I don't know what this is, but who drew it? Ma'am, you're not answering my question. Who drew it?
I did.
You did, okay.
That's the same thing that was submitted though, right? Yes. That's just a larger, enlarged version.
Probably coincide.
So the fence is in, the shed is in.
Okay.
Thank you.
So from the neighbor's property in the back, it looks like 9 feet.
Other than the neighbor has a fence as well, so they're looking over, they'd see the top of the applicant's fence over their own fence.
So they're seeing the 32 inches.
Difference.
That's what you're saying. They're seeing
They probably see even less than that when they're in the yard. They just see like a little bit topping off.
To be within 6 feet there, they would have had to put the fence behind the wall, but that's not their property.
Yeah, if they put the fence at the bottom of the wall, they'd be compliant. They wouldn't be here for that reason.
But then we'll lose the privacy of, having a private yard and the meaning of the entire project.
Who
You're
owns
only
the,
permitted to have a 6-foot fence. You went on top of the retaining wall giving yourself 32 inches more.
But also we removed the nuisance of our neighbors dealing with runoff water from the street through our property all the way to their yard. Because now we have a full water management system as opposed to them running, what's the name of it? The compressor, every time it was raining heavily, after every rain.
Who owns the little strip of land between the two fences?
I think we do, but it's mostly ivy. Bob and Mike took a look when they were on site. It's like covered in ivy.
Is there any issue with, Mike, is there any issue with maintaining that area?
There potentially could be. That's not a grass area, it's more of a natural vegetation. So whoever property it's on would be responsible for it if the need comes to enforce that.
Do you see any reason to be able to have to access it and service it in any way?
Well, there is access. There is the ability to walk into that area. So there is access to it, it's just that you'd have to walk around the linear length of the fence along the rear.
Is that your property or your neighbor's?
I think it's ours. We couldn't put the fence on the property line because there are trees. We had to step to the front a little bit. But we do maintain it, and it's like I said, it's mostly ivy. If it starts overgrowing, we go and cut it. So it's pretty clean down there.
Do your neighbors have any concern with the height of your fence?
Well, we have one neighbor that took time to show up.
No, not yet. Thank you.
Well, I talked to the couple, they don't have an issue, and they had a chance to complain since last year because the project was finished last year, basically. And we got the permits for the electrical and the plumbing and the last December, so.
All right, if they had not built up the back, and they actually put the fence basically on the graded property, that would then be sitting well below their existing fence line, correct?
Correct.
So they would be 32 inches beneath the fence.
Correct.
So they, I think what she's trying to say is she wouldn't have 6 feet.
The fence would almost, right, fence would almost look like a knee fence from their backyard at grade level.
Yeah, I'll be
Really
looking at
one.
the top of the fence.
Where they'd have to build up the soil on the bottom up.
Any other questions from the board?
Was the original shed the one that collapsed, was that already there when you moved in?
Yes, it was very old plywood, with regular plywood siding and shingles, and the concrete slab. We had to put all this stuff somewhere, so we had to build a replacement pretty fast. We don't have a garage.
Sympathize.
I have one more question for you, Mike. The purpose of the wall mainly is just basically to the erosion of grade in the backyard, correct? You think?
Well, I think the applicant probably constructed the wall to make the backyard more level, more usable. They did put a pool in, so obviously the elevation of the coping around the pool has to be equal. So they probably built up the rear of the property somewhat to accommodate that.
Right, because it definitely sits, grade level on there sits much higher than their backyard neighbors' grade level, so.
Yes.
Any attempts to just build it up with soil would really, to build it up with just soil so that they could have a compliant 6-foot fence may not have made practical sense.
Yeah, you would have had a wall or a sloped embankment, and which would be subject to potentially erosion. But if the fence was on top of the embankment, it would have just been 6 foot tall, you're right. The fact that it's in combination with the wall is where the relief is sought.
Any further questions? Any members of the public have any questions for the witness? Is? All right. Members of the public that wish to speak on this application? No? Okay. Sir, you don't want to say anything about this?
The shed is on their side.
The shed on their side. Come forward. Come on, guys, come on. Talk.
It's like-
If you're going to speak, I have to swear you in.
Oh, I didn't know. First of all, I got a letter. The hearing's here, and my neighbor, my township want me to hear it, that's why I'm here.
You have a right to speak, you have no obligation. If you don't want to speak, then that's fine.
Thank you. All right, that portion is closed. Thoughts?
So the shed is replacing
The wall?
I want you to put the fence on top of what it looks like.
Mike, do you mind bringing that up? Thank you.
Certainly.
While he's waiting to see it, I will say that I don't have any, I understand now, I mean, that you're, no offense, but your drawing didn't explain a lot. Mike helped a lot. I would just say that if we were to approve this, we'd want to have the construction department make sure that that shed is safe, any electrical, any of the stuff that's been
There
done
is
in
no
there.
electrical.
has-
No electrical
eh,
there.
The building itself complies with all of construction codes. I would say that, no, because I know when you're closer than a certain distance from the property line, there are specific requirements for fire separations and safety.
Also that
It's a sturdier shed than what we had before.
the ivy and such has to stay maintained, because that can grow quite fast.
Just to clarify, the back of your house would be closer to Beverly?
Which
You're
one
on
is
the
Beverly,
gas,
the one
you're
in
on the
back?
gas station side of the street?
Yes. We are from the gas station, the second house
Second house.
on the hillside.
But on the same side of the street as that gas station, the Citgo?
On the hillside.
Just for the record, the picture that's been shown on the engineer's phone will be printed out and marked as A1.
We don't have the dimensions of the shed, correct?
We do,
It is
17 by
set-
12, but not the full 17 by 12, the back is cut diagonally.
It is 7 feet wide. As far as the length,
17 by 12, I think.
I what?
17 by 12.
Yeah, it is no more than 14, so 12 to 14.
But the issue is it's too close to the side yard. That's what we're.
Yes.
And the,
Yeah, sorry.
and the requirement for a setback is 10 feet or 5 feet for the shed? Ten feet seems like a lot.
5 feet from rear and side yards, 10 feet from other buildings.
We should be
So your chart is wrong. It says 10 feet.
That's the principal building in the chart.
Okay.
The chart doesn't have a provision for accessory building because it's not a typical thing.
So they're asking.
Not my chart, their chart.
So they're basically asking for a 1-foot variance from 4 to 5,
It is
5 to
5
4
feet.
feet.
The back of the shed is 5 feet from the property line.
Yeah, I think the side yard is where the issue was.
So you're asking for approximately 1-foot variance on the side. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
Are we doing them together?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Are we doing them together or separate?
I'm fine together.
Okay, if we're okay together, then great. But if you feel that we need to make them separately, then please make a motion.
I think for clarity, they should be separated.
Okay? Let's separate them. I will start with the fence. Is there a motion? Actually, let's start with the shed. Is there a motion on the shed?
I'll move, and with the conditions that the construction department approves the shed.
That the construction department approves the shed. That it's code.
I'll second.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Mr. Schewitz?
Yes.
Mr. Wexstein?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
Chair Powell?
Yes. As to the fence, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Can we add in the closure of maintaining that property behind the fence that is within their property line?
Yes, with a condition to maintain that IV'd area.
Okay. Yeah, we do.
You're maintaining it now.
It's still.
We do.
Still have it.
Yeah,
We had the fence, it's pre-existing fence, we just had to lift it up.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
yes.
Mr. Wexstein?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
No.
Ms. Naparano?
Yes.
Mr. Schewitz?
Yes.
And Chair Powell?
No.
Motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses, 2 noes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Should we take a 2-minute break? Okay. The time is 6:52. We're going to take 5 minutes. Thank you. All right, the time is 7:03. We are back to hear application 2024-14, 170 US Route 22 East, Block 7303, Lot 1. It's a request for preliminary and final site plan use variance for an expansion of the Toyota dealership. This is a continued application from September 17, 2024. How are you?
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman. For the record, my name is Jay Bone. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Schiller, Pittenger, and
Mr.
Galvin,
Bone.
P.C. I represent the applicant.
Let me just put on the record before we start that all members of the board who were not present last month have viewed the videotape and signed an affidavit to that effect. So all members of the board are eligible to hear this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At the end of the last meeting, we were given some homework to make some plan revisions. We had the assistance of a meeting on-site with your board planner and board engineer. So I plan first to present the redirect testimony of our engineer, Josh Tyner, to describe the plan changes and the results of that meeting. Of course, to address any other questions that the board may have. I have our other witnesses here tonight, and whether they come up will depend upon if we believe that their testimony is needed. We're here to answer any further questions that the board has. So first, I'd ask Mr. Tyner to come up. Mr. Tyner was previously sworn and qualified as an engineer.
We're going to just swear him in again, but the qualification carries over. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth? I do. Please state your full name, spell your last name, state your business address.
Joshua Tyner, T-I-N-E-R. The address is 433 North Avenue East, Westfield.
Thank you.
Mr. Tyner, I see you brought some exhibits with you. Would you like me to help hand them out to the board?
Test. There we go.
Counsel, for the record, have these been previously placed into the record?
Like, sir? What?
Are these new exhibits?
Yes, yes, we'll have him describe them.
Okay,
After
I
we-
think we're up to A4.
Thank you.
This is just a packet. Yes, says it's eight pages of a packet for the purpose of supporting topics as I go. Again, I think well, let me know when you're ready.
And since the last meeting, have you submitted revised plans to the board?
Yes, we did.
And what is the last revision date of those plans?
I believe it's October 3rd, 2024.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to describe for the board what the revisions were, but if you can take that in whatever order you think most effective.
Yep. All right, so just for background, we had this site visit on site with Mr. Mistretta and Mr. Disco. And we reviewed the project, the site plan, mainly with the goal of finding more green space, I think. That was one of the main goals. So in this new exhibit on page 2 of 8, this is where it kind of like helps it to pop out. There's basically 5 spots around the front where we added some more green space. It would be inside this, I guess we won't put it on screen, Jen, or, yeah, there's a spot here, right inside the first corner of the parking, 2 islands, peninsula-type islands where signs are proposed, are going to be added as green space.
Excuse me, is this R2 in the lower right-hand corner?
Yes, R2 in the lower right-hand corner. Oh, I said page 2. Yeah, it's the second page of 8 sheets, but yeah.
I didn't know how they were marked for evidence. I'm just trying to
Yep.
match up with this.
Perfect. That's what we're looking at. There's a, off to the left-hand side, right near the word Lawrence Road, you can see where it seems like extra wide of green space and some looks like there's some additional trees. That was a striped area around the perimeter that got added. And then coming along to the back, in between, it goes from light gray to darker gray, there's sort of an L shape in the lower right-hand corner of the green. That's here. That area was also like a hatched stripe area. And in the conversation, we got the impression that mainly around the perimeter was the place where we would try to find these additional green spaces, and those were the ones that were identified in the meeting that we talked about adding green space. The island in the front center, I did get a little bigger just because we just reconfigured signage a little bit. The other main real change to the site plan was the 2 crosswalks that we added to delineate the pathway over from the building over to this inventory parking. So that is really, if you can see this sort of curved arch feature, there's a crosswalk that we added here that cuts across both aisles of traffic, and then there's another crosswalk here, just creating a pathway across where vehicles, if they were coming into the service drive, it would give us an opportunity to cross over there.
Sorry, I don't see, I see the first crosswalk. This one here, but the second one?
Yeah, the second one is, if you see the 4 arrows pointing into the building, right behind those 2 arrows are like 5 big fat white bars that creates a crosswalk.
Oh, I see it, okay.
Yep, and there's signs in front of each of the crosswalks that are basically MUTCD. That's the standards for traffic signage of pedestrian signs that we're going to put there, just to make it safe and it's obvious that there's pedestrians crossing there. And then other little things just got cleaned up because of that, based on having to add the crosswalks and shift some things around. Some of the striping is slightly tweaked, and we reconfigured lighting a little bit, but lighting is still consistent with there being no impact to the neighboring properties, as was discussed last time. Also, then architecturally, if we go to sheet 7 of the packet, there is, you can see in the elevations that are in the submission, but on sheet 7 of the packet, which isn't really a numbered sheet, but it's the one that's closer to the word service reception, with the bigger proposed architectural elevation, there's some windows that got added to the side of the building there. So that was part of the request, is that we break up that large feature with just some windows to create some additional. So what were some of the results of this whole change to the coverage? Really, the bulk requirements of the HC zone are generally unchanged, but the max lot coverage requirement of 63% is still an existing nonconformity, but it's improved from 92.12% down to 91.57%. So we have less impervious coverage on the site. Likewise, in the I-40 zone, there's just one little tiny corner, very small area that did have green space added. So we improved that from 81.75 down to 81.74%. So also during our meeting, there was just some discussion about this area. Going back to, I'm sorry, we're going to shoot back to sheet 2 again. This area down here in the lower left is gray area. That's an area of existing parking spaces. And while we were on the site meeting, we just had conversations about whether or not that had historically been paved and had been parking. And we had looked into historical aerial photos from early on and saw that, yes, it had been parked with vehicles pretty much from the inception of the site. But we also, while we looked at it, its condition is like gravelly. It's really millings. What millings are old asphalt that got chopped up and then put there. And what happens then with milling, since it's asphalt, it melts in and creates a hard packed surface. So it's pretty firm and solid. It's not like gravel, but that's what that condition is. And since there are some section of the ordinance that require parking areas to be paved and have curbing and striping and lighting, we're going to need to seek relief for that. So Mr. Disco helped us identify where that would be in the ordinance, and so we added that to the plan set as a part of the application. Just at that area is requiring some relief because it's an existing nonconformity to remain. Parking, the total number of parking remains compliant based on the significant unstriped inventory, just as we testified before. The service drive queuing, again, now it has crosswalks. There's pedestrian signage is added. Regarding drainage in general, a revised drainage design was resubmitted with the application to address a topic that Mr. Disco had raised to me earlier, and we believe we've addressed that comment, but there was no review yet. We believe that our intent is continue to be to satisfy Mr. Disco's drainage comments during resolution compliance, if the board so chooses to approve the application. Signage is the other thing that's worth talking about. Just based on some of the discussions we had with Mr. Mistretta, I did a much deeper dive into the signage existing and proposed because I wanted to be more clear on the plans, what we were actually doing. Nothing significant changed from what was on the plans, but we put into the application packet an analysis of all the existing signs and what would be then removed and replaced and or proposed. So there's 17 existing site signs, and then between removals, replacements, and new additions, there's a net 6 additional signs being added. So that results in 23 total proposed signs. This is freestanding signs. And so going on to sheet 3 of the packet, EX3 or Exhibit 3.
Which is on the screen.
Yeah, okay. So in the conversations with Mr. Mistretta, I think we all agree that most of the signs were directional, helpful for traveling around a site, knowing where people would go, but this one sign, which was a certified used vehicle sign, which again, to the right-hand side, that's the proposed sign, and this max height of 22 feet requires relief, because this is at 29 feet 8 inches. This sign is located on, if we look back to the sheet prior, Exhibit 2 again, this sign is proposed in now one of these little green islands that we added up here. The existing tall one that's 40 feet tall is in this green island over here, more to the east. That little green island that sticks out there to the west, for a little further, further to the east, I got that backwards. The existing 40-foot sign is further to the west, that way. And that one remains, but now it's in a green space. The new one, the 29-foot sign, is here. We're removing this sign, as you can see on EX3, which is a certified used vehicle sign. It's a 17-foot tall sign. It's an old, low, if you drive around and see Toyotas throughout the state, you'll see this sign. This is no longer the brand typical signage for certified used vehicles. The new one is the new one that we were proposed. So we just wanted to make it really clear that this is very important to the brand, if you would grant that relief. That's why it's proposed. Early in the conversation, it seemed like a very similar sign to the 40-foot existing Toyota sign, but it does serve a purpose from the brand's perspective. And that's why they're seeking that relief for compliance with that. Other topics then, minor changes to lighting. We've added some landscaping. Again, we're perfectly willing to take feedback and any other review letters for resolution compliance associated with the landscaping to just satisfy Mr. Mistretta as a condition of approval. What we've proposed we believe is appropriate, but he might have some other comments and we'd work with that. I do have the list of variances then, variances and waivers. It's a list of 22 items. It's very similar to last time. I could run through it just to put everything on the record, but it really does map to what is shown on the cover sheet. he used this list of the regular set, list of variances and waivers. Is there a preference? I know some people talked about the Yankee game being on tonight, but I could read this list if you'd like.
I just have one question.
Sure.
Going back to the second page, the
Yes.
parking lot in the lower left-hand corner, you said it's a parking lot, that you can use as a parking.
Yes, so, yes, the lower left, there's really not many vehicles in there now. Historically, what I understand is that they would like put a vehicle there that maybe got towed in off a wreck, or it was a vehicle that like a lease ran out and they didn't really have that's where they would store the lease when it came out of a lease. So it's unstriped, it's solid, it's safe, it's an appropriate place for vehicles, but.
The question that I have,
Sure.
looking at it from this description here, it's surrounded by grass. So how are vehicles gonna get in there if you drive them over the grass?
That's wrong. This should be gray right here. You're right. That is actually also paved right up through here. And
Just to
good eye.
on that, you had mentioned that it's currently milled and you're gonna be paving it. Is that
We're not going to change what the current condition is. The current condition is,
It's a
It was-
storage area.
yeah, it's a storage of vehicles, but what it was historically, probably, it had been paved many, many years ago, became into disrepair, and the way that then the prior owners had resolved that was that they acquired some millings from a project of someone probably disposing of millings, and it was placed there to stabilize it, and it did a very good job of stabilizing this area and basically restoring it to a stable condition where vehicles could be. They were sinking into the mud, anecdotally, I heard. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that there was an error on this, that there was be access to this area from where again? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, so, right, so the vehicles, if you're coming in off of Lawrence, this is actually a very good topic to talk about. Delivery vehicles can come in here, they can actually back into this parts building, and then as they drive around here, off to the right, there's a driveway that brings you over to that area.
Which is not marked on here.
It's not marked on this colorized exhibit, although it is accounted for.
Right off of Diamond?
It would be, it doesn't come off a Diamond, the driveway that comes off a
Right off
Diamond.
the entrance, right?
Yeah, right near that entrance is where the driveway is taking you over into that milled area. And that's actually asphalt there. It's more in here as the millings, but yeah. So in the impervious calculation, we're accounting for that. It's just, it was an oversight to have not
I think
colored
you-
it properly.
just For the record, you could actually see on our one with the aerial, you can see how it exists right now, and I'm assuming that is not changing.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, right, on the first page, R1, you can see that that's,
And did you say that there was relief associated with that?
well, the relief is because, well, I mean, I could read these because these are sort of a change from that litany I went through before. We're talking about from section 35-23.1.a. Parking is required to be on paved areas. If you read that ordinance, it says it's parking lots are supposed to be on paved areas. And then from 23.4.e, it says parking lots shall be made with standardized paving and lighting. And then from 35-23.7, it says there should be curbing and paving and striping on a parking area. So those three different sections of the ordinance identify three sections of relief that we would need technically to continue the existing nonconformity.
And this is certainly not a customer parking area. It's not an area that the customers will ever have any reason to access. It's for the-
Yeah, it's employee inventory or vehicles like that. It's not a customer location.
Can I just ask a question? One of the numbers you said before, you said you went from 81.75 to 81.74.
Yeah, so I'll show you why that would be. If you look at page 1, this is your zoning map, or the blue line is the zoning overlay, which helps you see that the site is actually in two zoning districts. So the northern part of the site is the HC zone. The lower part of the site is the I-40 general industrial zone. And if you can see that part over here of the site, at the end of the aisle, is in the I-40 zone. And so when we changed this area right here, that zoning line cuts through here like this. So when we change this from striping to planted green space, the I-40 zone dropped by 0.01 of impervious. So we've identified it for the record.
And why the height of the sign 29 from 22? Why the need for it?
29,
29 feet that you measured on page 3.
yeah,
It's 29, but our,
yeah, 29 foot 8 inches, so that should be 29.66 if I did decimal right. So the height of this certified pre-owned new brand sign, standardized sign that the brand asks the dealers to put into their properties, that's the height of that sign. And the maximum sign height, there's an existing non-conforming condition because we have a 40-foot sign on the site that looks like this, but it just has the logo and just says Toyota. This proposed sign, which is the standardized Toyota sign, is 29 feet, 8 inches tall. And that's, its function for the purpose of the applicant is that it identifies that there's certified used vehicles on the property that used to be identified by a sign that looked like this. And this is going away in our application, so now we have this instead, but this one needs relief.
you're going to have a total of 23 of these signs.
No, the application shows, and this, I'd have to open up, we could open up the plan set. The application shows that there's only one of that sign. And that's the one I'm bringing up because it's sort of the one in question from the conversation with Mr. Mistretta. On sheet 10, or actually it's probably better to look at sheet 11, you can see the different kinds of freestanding signs. There's 23 different signs, but they're like one says Toyota Night Drop, another one will say exit, thank you for visiting, or this one says sales and service in that direction, sales and service that way. Some say Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram. And so they're kind of traffic orienting. Some of them have a Toyota logo on them, but they're all really there for guidance and circulation so that people know how to go where they go. And
And in general, how high are those signs?
they're 5 feet tall.
So you're only putting one sign in that for 29.6.
Yes.
Replacing the 40-foot.
No.
No, the 40-foot remains. A 17-foot sign is being replaced by a 29-foot sign along the road. This would all be clearly marked on sheet 11. No, sheet 10. And sheet 10 kind of shows with a little picture where each sign is, So if you looked at sheet 10, you'd see existing sign E9 is the 40-foot sign, and that's the one that's in that island to the left. Off to the west is sort of on what Jen has. That's maybe the older exhibit. I didn't bring that one, but I didn't update that colorized version of this. But if you zoomed in there along the road, you could see that tall one there is to the left. That one. That's the existing sign to remain. That's 40 feet. And then any other sort of new island that I showed is proposed sign 17 now, on the new plan anyway. It's probably not labeled here, but sign 17 is that certified pre-owned on both sides of the sign with a label. Every other sign is, like a 5 foot tall sign, maybe some might be 6.5 or something like that. But they're all low-lying directional signs.
Can I ask a question? Are you finished? So I'm a little confused. So if you were to like take out one of those 6-foot sections of the sign and drop it down, what is the reason that sign has to be so tall? Could you make it like a 24-foot high or 22-foot high sign?
I think that's, Mr. Katina is here. He testified last time. I'll bring him up to address the branding and essentially the manufacturer requirements and what is available.
So this is a sign that's, well, I guess we can ask.
It's a sign authorized by Toyota. They have, I believe they have certain sizes that you can buy. It's not custom made because this particular dealership wants this particular size. But I'll let, I think that, Mr.
Yeah, I mean, just at least in terms of, so you understand our process, there's a sign vendor named Pattison that is authorized to design the signage on the properties for Toyota Global, I think. And so, at least around here, because we always work with them if we're working on a Toyota project. So, Pattison gives us a site plan and says, this is what we want you to put where. And then we put it on a plan, and then they review it and say, okay, this is brand approved. Now go see if you can get it approved with the town. That's, you know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of like how.
So if we said, no, it's not approved, you wouldn't have a sign, or?
They wouldn't be
you would-
happy
or
as a
you would
brand, and they,
lower
I
it?
mean, he probably has to speak to what kind of bind that puts them in. I'm just saying the facts.
But is it the actual sign, or is it the sign with the height of the pole?
I just measured the highest point of that sign. That one needs relief because it also doesn't have, it's not on a pole.
Oh, it's actually, that is that whole,
Yeah, that whole thing is like from the ground to the 29 feet. The thing in the middle is a side profile of it. That,
The actual lettering and logo is a much smaller part of the surface area.
yeah, the surface area itself is the sign. There's no pole underneath of it. So actually one of the points of relief is that if something doesn't have like 7 feet clear, that it needs relief, and we don't have that. So that's one of our signage variances that we've asked for relief on.
okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay, I'm going to turn to our professionals. Mr. Disco?
I'll stick to the stormwater stuff. So as the testimony was, they further increased green space and landscaping on it. They gave you the percentages. As far as the lower left corner, that prehistoric parking area, I don't see any need to require them to pave that. That is an area that no customer will ever see, most likely. It's just for the inventory of vehicles, so. As far as the site plan goes, they added the crosswalks. I think the signs is where you're gonna have to focus in on.
Thank you. Mr. Machetta?
Sure, thank you. I agree with Mike.
Bless
They
you.
bless you. They slightly reduced the amount of impervious. We went up, walked out in the site. We added some more landscape islands around the perimeter of the parking lot. So I think that was a benefit to our meeting. I think the main question that remains for the board to consider is the signs, the sign variances, the number of signs, and so forth. As they depicted on EX3, which is right up on the board right here behind me. That's just one of the variances for the signs. About approximately 200 feet further west along Route 22, there's another sign that says Toyota. That sign is 40 foot, 4 inches high, and it just has the Toyota brand. Our ordinance says 22 foot is the maximum height for a freestanding sign. The existing Toyota sign is 40 feet, 4 inches. Approximately 200 feet down along 22, they want another sign that's 29 feet 8 inches. So it's multiple variances. It's the number of freestanding signs, it's the height of the sign, it's the square footage of the sign, and as the board chair pointed out before, from grade up to 7 feet is supposed to not be a structure or open, right? From grade to 7 feet above. And that is all one structure that goes all the way down to the ground. So that 7-foot clearance is just one more variance for not just this sign, but all of the freestanding signs that are being proposed. So I think majority of the freestanding signs that are proposed, though, are all interior to the site, and it's a lot different. But when you get out on 22, I think that's the point of the board's discussion or focus. The other point that I have is, just to clarify, on sheet 10 of the modified or the amended site plans, I just want to clarify if there's a lot of signs, so I don't know if I got this right, but on the handout that you see up here, the board members, and the testimony was existing signage E8 is to be removed, which is one of the freestanding signs. And I just want to clarify, on sheet 10 of the site plan drawings, there's a E8, and it states to remain freestanding sign. I just want to make sure it's not misnumbered or mislabeled, or if we have the right sign that's being removed there or not.
Let me just check this out.
That's just a cleanup item. I don't have to waste the board's time with that. I just want to just make sure that at some point, that table gets cleaned up. And then my third point is, the testimony is correct. They list all the variances that they're requesting, but what the specific variance request is not identified. For example, total number of freestanding signs is 1 per dealership. They asked for that relief, but we don't get the number. Next, total area of freestanding signs is 75 square feet, whereas the ask is what? I just want to clarify that so that should the board look favorably upon the application, there should be the second part of each variance request. What is the specific number so that it would become part of the record? Those are my 3 points.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm in agreement with the third point. Not that I'm not in agreement with the other two, but the third point, do we have those numbers to state on the record? Are those available for,
I don't have that calculated at the moment. Yeah.
okay.
It hadn't been presented that would be, I mean, we could certainly put that on the plan as a condition of approval so that's clear and even could get put into a resolution maybe. But I don't have that information at the moment.
Without having those numbers, I can't see how we could give an approval for that. Because it's a blanket approval for the signs without knowing the details.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be able to do that on the spot. You know, I think with Mr. Mistretta, we could, all we can do is make sure that he agrees with how we calculate those numbers, and then I hate to have to come back. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't have the ability to produce the total conglomerate of how we would agree that he interprets that relief. You know, it's quite a few things. We've listed each of the items that required relief. That's what we understood was going to be required for this.
All right, so let's do this because let's have a sign discussion. So you'll know eventually what you will need to calculate for us. Any members of the public have any questions for Mr. Tyner? Tyner? What? No, I know, but we're gonna call it Mr. Cantina, right? right, to discuss how the sign, why it was chosen, right, so we're gonna have that discussion. So I was opening it to the public for just questions on what was the testimony given now for the engineer.
And Mr. McDonough also testified.
Right, okay, got it.
Mr. McDonough is here, and I expect to recall him after Mr.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have one question. So the ordinance requires the signs to be on a pylon 7 feet up. I assume it's so for visibility, so the fact that they want to do these other types of signs, does that affect the safety or ability for people to manipulate on the site and see things with these signs being so different?
I don't want to go into Mike's area of site triangles, and I don't want to testify as an engineer. I will state that the two freestanding signs that I'm looking at, sign 17 and existing sign E9, which are the focus of my conversation with the board, the existing 40-foot, 4-inch sign and the proposed 29-foot, 8-inch sign appear to be both located within a landscaped island that you would have there's a parking space for cars on both sides of it. So for what that's worth, you're gonna have a car parked on both sides of the bottom of these signs, if that makes sense, with the sign, freestanding sign in the middle on this landscaped island. So while the top of a car is not as great as 7 feet, the obstruction is there at the eye level or the ground level with the car itself on both sides, sandwiched on both sides of the signs.
So it's far enough in from the highway that we're not concerned about
Yeah, I don't see a
people
dimension.
entering
I don't
and
see a
exiting.
dimension there. It's a good question. I don't see a dimension of what the sign is set back off of the property line. Our ordinance requires 10 feet, and if they hold that 10 feet, and it's within a island that's wrapped with cars on both sides, I would be comfortable with that.
Yeah, there's no expectation from the exit going onto Route 22 that these signs would pose a problem in terms of the visibility. They're both in the island, as Michael said. I believe the one to the east is certainly where inventory parking is. They could put on the record whether the one on the west is where inventory parking is. I believe it is. The customer parking seems to be identified between the sign and the building and the other parking bank. So from a visibility standpoint, most likely not going to be an issue. They should put it on the record.
The 40-foot sign that's there is already there. Sorry, that's already there.
Correct.
Yes.
So it's 2 29-foot sign, 1 29 to the west of the 40-foot sign.
Approximately 200 feet west of it, with the removal of one sign of 17 feet 6 inches and a proposed sign of 29 feet 8 inches.
Okay, I have how far is this new sign gonna be from Route 22 itself?
The new sign is approximately, well, from the cartway, it's about 35 feet. From the property line, it looks like it's about half that, 17. Maybe it should be 30.
Question. As you all know, like modern light posts on highways, when they're hit by a car, they break away so the car doesn't get wrapped around it. What I'm getting at is if it's that close, if it's within even 35 feet from Route 22, cars are doing 50, 60 miles an hour on that road, even though it's above the speed limit, they still do it anyway. Car hits that sign, is that sign gonna, how is it anchored into the ground? Is it gonna break away so the car doesn't get destroyed, or is it gonna be solidly anchored into the ground, so God forbid a car were to hit that, it would just get totaled? I mean, do you know anything about how that sign's gonna be built?
I mean,
as that?
my opinion is that it would be anchored firmly, and you wouldn't actually want that sign falling over.
Yeah.
Because, and it is set, actually, you can see the line of it, it's 5, 6 feet behind the line of the actually light poles that are proposed, so it's between parked inventory vehicles. So I'm not saying people don't fly off the road and hit things, they certainly do. It's behind the line of light poles. The light poles are probably more likely to get hit first. And I agree with both of the testimony, Mike. Like, if anyone's ever left this site and you're just looking to try to get into Route 22 traffic, you're not seeing any of the parking lot or the signs. It's very good visibility to the highway.
Mr. Tyner, on your sheet 10,
Yeah.
you have the proposed sign chart, or table, I should say. And it has some sizes in there. Could you identify which of those are freestanding signs and which would exceed the 75 square feet?
Yeah, we can. Because I actually,
I think that would help at least narrow that one issue.
So this chart on page 10, I don't know if everyone wanted to pull it out. It's got some complexities to it, but I wanted to be really clear, and I do see Mr. Mistress is correct, we have a typo. Existing sign E9 on this sheet is existing sign E8 on sheet 9. So the sign that I called existing sign E8 is the tall one. Existing sign E9 is the certified pre-owned one that is getting removed. And so one way or another, one of those two, E8 or E9, 8 or 9 are going to be, one of those is going to say removed. It looks to me like it's the E9 is labeled as the 17-foot high site on sheet 10. So let me just get that right. E9 is going to be removed, and on sheet 10, this should be labeled as existing sign E8. Just so we're clear, sorry, apologize for that error. So there's several existing signs that are remaining, and they are, E1 is 72 square feet, E2, which remains, is 209 square feet. E3 is also 209 square feet. Those are CDJR signs on the far side of the drive aisle. The next sign that remains is E5. That's 108 square feet. Then I just said E8 is remaining. That's 484.8 square feet. That's the 4.4 foot sign. E9 is not going to remain, so that comes off the list. And the rest are being removed or replaced in one way or another, but then to the right is P1, right? So these are all small signs. These are all 8.2 square feet or 11.3 square feet. So they're all smaller than that limitation. P17 is this, that's 296.7 square feet. And so P17 is the new large sign. That one needs relief, and then the rest are existing. There's the building mounted signs, and they're all compliant.
So it seems like there was at least 4 existing oversized signs.
Yeah, 1,
Correct.
2, 3. Yep, seeing four signs that are oversized, existing to remain, and this one new proposed sign, which is really the only one then that requires that item of relief as a new sign. 296.7.
Were those other signs approved, the 40-foot high, do we know?
The last time they were before the board a couple of years ago was just the service building to the rear. I think we had commented that, or researched that, the last previous proposal on the highway was quite some time ago, so.
Okay.
Point is, it's not in a vacuum. You already have 4 existing oversized signs. So the question is, you have to have a compelling reason to add to that.
Okay, so I think we should talk about the reason for adding those, and that would be to bring up Mr. Katina. So let me just, one more time, ask if there's any member of the public that has any questions for Mr. Tyner. I see none.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Once again, please state your full name, spell your last name, give us your business address.
Sure. Joe Katina, Catena, 170 Route 22 East, Springfield.
Would you just remind the board the position you hold with the applicant?
Sure. I'm the Vice President and General Manager of Autoland.
Okay, the board has expressed curiosity as to why the proposed new certified used car sign is the size it is. Can you
Sure.
speak to that?
If you don't mind, I'm going to stand because I've been sitting all day. So Toyota is requiring, or actually, they changed their whole brand image, okay, from license plate frames to, license plate inserts to that sign. So the existing sign that's there right now, which is the 17-foot sign, is going away, and we are, they're requesting or requiring us to add the new sign. Now, the new sign is, I don't know if it's plastic or fiberglass, and of course, then, you have the metal pole, that's the insert. If you look at the dealerships that went through their new imaging, everyone has that type of sign, that size sign on their property. This is what the manufacturer is requiring from us. Pattinson, who does all the signage, they come out and they service these signs on a quarterly basis. They come with their box trucks. They take care of the signs. They look after the signs. So you never have an eyesore or something like with the older sign that we're looking to replace. You know what, rust builds on the bottom of the sign, the metal pole, whatever else. This is a big, beautiful sign. Clearly, illustrates what the sign is, advertising the fact that, we have certified vehicles on our property.
Does Toyota look at the site and see what is existing and say, okay, you need to now replace and rebrand this sign, but this main 40-foot sign can stay because that meets our requirements, but you need all of these signs?
Yes.
Okay?
It's two separate signs. One is showing that we are a Toyota dealership. The other one is showing that we sell Toyota certified cars. On Toyota's branding side, they actually have, basically, they almost look at it as two different entities. You have their CPO sales unit, which is their certified pre-owned sales unit, and then you have their new car sales unit, as well as, the service department. So, when they go over numbers on their monthly end, everything is broken down. You have your new car sales, and you have your certified pre-owned sales. So that is the reason for both signs.
Okay, and so when you submit a plan to them, or how does it work? How does it work when you're choosing the signs?
They basically come to us and state this is the signage that they require.
Okay, and so is it the look of the sign? Could you go back and say, okay, well, we can't really have it at 29 feet because that's not what the code in this town states. So could we have this sign custom made at?
Right, they're telling us they want it, they would love to have it at 40 feet, They're telling us they want it at 29 feet. And just so this sign is gonna be east of the existing 40-foot sign.
Wait, we said west.
East, it is east.
East, okay.
So I just wanted to clear it up, because I didn't want there to be any confusion, because if you're looking west of it, we're gonna be in, Acura's parking lot, right? So it's east of the 40-foot sign.
And it's just two signs on 22, the 40-foot that exist,
We have two signs right now, right? The 17-foot sign,
which is going away,
okay, which is going away, then we have the 40-foot sign.
which is
and then
staying.
we're going to
Yes.
have the 29-foot 7-inch sign.
So ultimately, there's still two,
Right now, there are two signs.
And there's gonna
Two
be-
existing signs, a certified pre-owned sign, which is 17 feet, and then the 40-foot brand sign, which is the Toyota sign.
Plus, on the other side of the drive aisle, there's the LED type sign and the CDJR sign. So along the frontage, there's the oversized ones that we talked about are those existing ones that remain.
They're staying.
Yes,
and there was no requirement to replace those?
that's a different,
It's not-
different
it's-
manufacturer. Right, that's Chrysler Jeep Dodge, that's a different dealership.
Oh, right, on the other side of the driveway. I understand, I'm sorry.
Further east.
Okay, I got it.
So when you're looking at signs, do you guys even consider what the local's ordinance is for the signs before, or is just like, that's disregarded and
Well,
a sign is the,
nothing's ever disregarded, and I can guarantee you that Toyota knows basically every town's ordinance, okay, where they're at. This is, again, when you look at.
but you're saying there's no other option. This is the option we have.
Right.
So if they know the ordinance, they know that, well, you might see if you can do this, but here's the alternative, if you can't.
Jay, I would, defer that to you, because right now, like I said, this is what they're adamant about adding, the sign.
And they can't give you a sign that's 22 feet, it can only be 29.6.
I don't know if there's a sign that's available for 22 feet. I don't know off the top of my head. Again, this is what they have presented to us, this is what they're asking us or requiring us to have put in for their franchise.
What happens if we say no to that sign? That, the height, is there any wiggle room? Is there any, I mean, somewhere along the line, somebody had to say, no, you as Toyota aren't telling us what to do. We're describing, or we're working according to our ordinances.
Right.
So if we say we're sticking with our ordinance, what does Toyota do?
I'm hoping we don't get to that point. Again,
But that's not the answer.
I understand that, and that's, again, speaking quite frankly, that's where we're hoping that, again, the presentation that we presented in front, and, going with removing the sign, again, we're not adding another sign, we're removing a sign to replace a sign.
I thought he said you were
Replace it with a
adding,
nicer sign.
you were going from 17 to 23.
Well, he's talking about the brand sign at the highway.
Oh.
Most of those other signs, we
Are internal.
are directional, telling you how to get around the site.
Makes sense.
So, because not only are you're over the height, you're also, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's supposed to be whole, not full space, under 7 feet.
Correct, it's a 7-foot clearance.
Right, so which your current sign does have.
No.
Yes,
Well, the
you have a,
current 17-foot sign does.
Has a
but
pole.
The brand sign does not.
right,
Okay, so this is basically an identical sign to the brand sign, albeit being shorter,
from 40 feet
from
to
40
29.
feet to 29 feet.
And if you went back to them and said, we have to be within 22 feet, you don't know if that's something that's even produced at this point.
That I can't answer.
Can I ask, what would be the reason that we would approve a sign that's non-conforming at 29 feet instead of 22, aside from Toyota wants that?
I think that's a,
It's Mr. McDonough.
dumb.
I think one of the things that gets us here, from the Patterson's perspective, is that they come to a site that
Are there any other questions for Mr. Katina?
No, I would like his question answered.
Yeah. Okay. Any of our professionals have any questions? Okay, any members of the public have any questions for the testimony that was just given? No? All right, let's talk to Mr. McDonough.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name, give us your office address.
Sure. Hi there again, everyone. My name is John McDonough. That's spelled MC, capital DONOUGH. My office address is over in Parsippany, 101 Gibraltar Drive.
And you were approved as an expert at the last meeting, which will carry over.
Correct.
Okay. So the board seems particularly interested right now in signs, and in particular, the 29 and change foot high Toyota certified used car sign.
So we'll take first the quantity of signs that are out there, reminding the board, we pointed to the aggregate area of the property last time. This is a massive property in the context of your highway commercial zone district and your industrial district in the back. It's about 20 times larger than the minimum zoning requirement, so to the extent the board may feel that there's a lot of signs on this property, the zoning ordinance, to a degree, says that's okay because this site could be cut up into many smaller parcels that would have roadside signs with them as well. The frontage along Route 22 is more than 7 times zoning requirements. So again, we could have 7 frontages here. We could have 7 signs along the frontage again. So as a planner, whenever I consider relief that an applicant is seeking, I always have to look at what the zone plan would say is okay. So along that physical run of Route 22, you could see a similar number of roadside signs. And then, of course, we dive into the site, as Josh walked you through. These are circulation aids, these are navigation aids, visual cues that on a massive site that could end up having be a complex driving environment, both internally and particularly along Route 22. These will help the driver get through the site. So I think given the sheer size of the property, given the fact that the applicant is unifying a property that could be disjointed in terms of multiple other individual retail or other highway commercial uses, I see this as a better zoning alternative and certainly not a substantial departure from what the zone plan would contemplate in terms of the number of signs that are here. And I think the board can move favorably under the balancing test, where the benefits of the application as a whole would substantially outweigh the detriments associated with that sign package. I think the sign package ties neatly into the use relief that you're being asked to consider as well. I think what the board did, and with your professionals' input, you took a good plan, a plan that is going to result in better overall site organization and definition of parking and circulation. You know, it's a massive, almost free-for-all site now that has evolved over time, and this is going to give it nice concentration and definition. As a result of the last hearing and then the site meeting we had with your board professionals, we've taken a good plan. We've made it even better now, where it will flow, function, and operate safely and efficiently, and certainly modernize a site that has been a longstanding part of your local landscape. So again, I think the relief related to the use and the overall site betterment and the sign package as well, modernizing some of the older signs that are on the property, again, present a better face to the motoring public on 22 that has a positive reflection not only on the site itself, but on the image and the identity of the community as a whole, looking at progressive and keeping up with the times, if you will. Now, that additional 5 or so feet for that 29-footer, 7 feet, is my math off? Again, I would tie this as a better zoning alternative as well. Given the matrix of signs that are along the frontage of the property, this sign is not going to appear obtrusive, it's not going to be imposing along the road, and I don't think anybody driving by is going to see it as non-conforming, given what's around it. You have taller signs,
So I don't think this is going to stand out as an overly large sign in the public realm. So again, I think it's important here to consider that this is going to benefit an established business with a longstanding commitment to the community. It produces jobs, produces ratables. All of that, I think, goes towards the public interest as well. And it cleans it up, it modernizes it, and I think that sign folds into the overall betterments that I spoke about last time. So we have to look at the degree of departure from the zone plan. It is several feet above what the ordinance would require, but given the physicality of the site, the physicality of the landscape around it, I don't see this as being a substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of your zone plan and ordinance, and certainly not a substantial detriment to the public at large.
And given that there are two existing Toyota signs with different branding motifs, is there a planning benefit to unifying that, to have the two signs be essentially the same appearance rather than one being the older brand identity?
Yes, again, it's a modernization, it's an integration as well, providing a display to the roadside public that I think is a better integration than that which is there now.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
I do have a question about, I see that, and you're not the architect, so I don't know if this is the appropriate person to talk to about. I see that you added windows on the side that's facing 22. I would like to suggest that you take that frieze and you run it along that side as well. Because that is, it is facing the highway there, and it's, kind of looks like an old western set where you just see the front of it and it doesn't wrap around. I think it would look a lot better, personally.
I'm seeing head nods from the applicant, so I'll stipulate to yes, and it's another improvement to the plan, another good improvement.
Any other questions? None. Any members of the public have any questions for Mr. McDonough? I'm sorry. Do our professionals have any questions?
Just a reminder that for car dealerships, we have a 5-acre minimum requirement in our ordinance. So when we're talking about the testimony, it is an oversized site, it's a large site, but there's a 5-acre minimum requirement for the car dealership operation.
Thank you. Any members of the public have any questions for Mr. McDonough?
So, sorry, you had mentioned there was other signage that's up there that's not just specific to Toyota, that's of the same height levels. What are we referring to there with regards to height level?
There's the 40-footer that
Yeah.
Josh had, and I may have to defer to Josh to walk us through sign by sign as
Just generally, like a range, we don't.
And we're referring to sheet 10 on the revised plans. Okay. If you look at existing sign E2, it indicates a height of just under 35 feet. E3, which is a little bit further to the west, a height of a little over 36 feet.
So the signs out there right now are of that height level, and I assume were previously approved?
Yes, they're those two, which are Chrysler Jeep, one for the new car, one for the certified used car for those brands,
And do
are
they have-
in between the 29 feet proposed for the Toyota certified used car and the 40-foot existing Toyota.
And do they are they currently on a pole with the 7-foot clearance, or no, they're like a?
They're on a pole.
They're on.
You can see it from the picture on sheet 10 or 9 or 10. The upper right corner. They're offset, it's not centered on a pole like the other one. It's like hanging like a flag.
talking about the eastern corner of the site.
Any further questions?
I just have a question for the professional. When you, just your comments that you just made regarding the minimum 5-acre site, you're referring to the use variance?
No, I'm
For
just,
the-
ref-
for the- for the-
I'm sorry, I was just referring to, as Mr. McDonough was testifying, describing the site, how it is an oversized site, and I agree with that,
Right.
it is definitely an oversized site. But it's not quite as it doesn't, the size of the site gets a little bit smaller when you take in consideration auto dealerships in our township, which has a 5-acre minimum requirement. That's the point that I was trying to make.
Okay.
And the only thing I'll expound upon that is the ordinance doesn't say that the site has to be an auto dealership. The point I was trying to make is that 20 retailers could go here.
Right.
Any additional questions?
Can I
Yes.
clarify? Thank you. Looking at page 10, which was revised October 3rd, there's a chart that shows all of the signs. I'm trying to reconcile that with testimony that there are 23 proposed signs. That chart seems to have more than 23 signs. I'm trying to figure out just exactly. Because the question, I think the board has exactly what's being proposed for signs, and we're trying to figure out where that information is set forth.
If you look all the way to the right, the chart says total. I labeled every sign that would remain as F, like it's a final sign. Final 1, 2, 3, 4, and it comes up to F23. Although, I think it's gonna be F22, because we are to have the one typo that says remain. So, you're looking at sheet 10, yes?
So the signs that are listed as being replaced, there's a second line which contains the sign it's being replaced with?
Right, that's, when it says replace, it says CP13, so you know which one it's kind of replaced with. It's either in kind or, yeah.
So the actual proposed signs are F1 through F23.
Yes, the final condition will be F1 through F23.
Thank you.
Through F22.
No, but some of.
Yeah, F22, because
Tell me, because the 17-foot is
E9.
marked as
Right,
not
E9
being
says
removed.
remain, and that's F6, that will go away. This table in compliance will be renumbered as F1 through 5 on the left, and then 6 through 22 on the right.
23 freestanding signs.
Okay.
And I do, I know it would be tedious and cumbersome, but I think if the board really did want, we probably do have enough data that we could go through every relief item line by line here tonight, identify it, call out where it is and what it is. It would take us a little while, but we could do that if we thought that that was necessary.
Well, I think what I would propose, if we were to proceed, would be a condition that with the change, the removal of the 17-foot sign, that the signs will be constructed in compliance with this chart, so that all of the height and sizes that are listed here, they would be limited to that. So it would not change from what has been listed here.
Yeah. That, absolutely.
Okay, so let's do this. Are there any other questions for the witnesses? Yes.
I'm going to add a caveat to that. When
Yes.
you look at, on that chart at P17, which is the sign in question, the 29-footer, I believe?
Yes.
Mr. Tyner, is that accurate? P17 is that sign?
That looks like a typo.
Yeah, the height says 5 feet. That's really the 29
Right.
foot sign.
So we're gonna remove the 17-footer, so it would come down to 22 signs, and you're going to amend the chart to also indicate that P17 is at 29 feet,
Correct.
.66.
As a height, yes.
Right, the height is.
Are all the others 5 feet though?
Those, all those smaller ones that's accurate.
Just so I'm clear,
Yes,
P17 is the freestanding sign that
the
we're
new,
talking-
the new freestanding
New
sign.
sign.
Yes,
Okay.
the used car sign.
And just to clarify again, that's one sign with two faces. I think earlier it might have been confusing, so.
One other question for the professionals. What is the tolerance when it has plus or minus? What is your tolerance level on that? Each sign has a plus or minus.
Maybe we should use an approximately. These are, it's gonna be like grading, couple inches from where we vertically said, a little bit of dirt climbed up onto the side of the thing, or, you know, so
That's what I'm saying, what is the established tolerance?
2.5 inches.
Yeah, plus or minus gives you a,
Less than a half, 2.5 inches.
okay, it's only,
Yeah, very close. It's this dimension sign and just how like they install it. Grading might change across one of this, you know.
Yeah, Toyota says exactly for the tall sign. Here they're willing to have a little bit of tolerance.
That's me. I'm putting the tolerance because I know that the grading is gonna,
I know, it just seems to me to be inconsistent.
Toyota is very specific about the height of the sign from their base to the highest point of the sign.
So we will only have 22, not 23.
Okay.
Bruce has that, he has that here, F17, P17, P17. P17.
So on that,
Right.
on P17, what is the square footage then?
296.7 on the chart.
Oh, the height's wrong, just the height's wrong.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
If you looked at, again, sheet 11, you'd see that, how we calculate that, I mean, obviously it's a curve, we do a rectangle around it to give you 296.7. And that's 296.7 on each side.
Okay.
Bruce, are you good? Okay, any other questions? None. Any members of the public have any questions? Any members of the public wish to speak on this application? Okay, so. Anyone have anything to say with respect to the application? No. I'm in favor of granting preliminary and final site plan with the relief sought. I think we have a few conditions that we want to put on the record. I do think that the testimony satisfied the proofs that are required for the signs. And I think that the testimony also satisfied the rationale for why these signs were chosen. So I'm in favor of granting the relief related to those freestanding signs along with the other signage that is proposed on the site. I I do appreciate that you came back with the greenery. I think that there was a condition with respect to the frieze, the panel, extending to the side of the building, which would be the western side of the building, right? As expanded, so one of the conditions would be for the paneling, the frieze that is across the front of the building to extend to the western side of the building.
So turn the corner.
Correct. Wrap the building. Condition with respect to signage is, one, the applicant is limited to the signage that is listed on page 10 of the plans with the two changes that were stated on the record. One, E9 is going to be removed, the 17-foot freestanding sign. And two, which brings us down to a count of overall 22 signs. And two, P17 is going to be amended to indicate that it's at a height of 29 feet. Also,
29 feet,
8 inches.
that was my next one. The second condition with respect to the signage and the chart would be that the plus or minus is not to exceed 2.5 inches. So give or take when you're grading. 2.5 inches. From grade. Okay. Did we have any conditions that were placed on the record at the previous? Do we,
I believe that everything that was discussed was addressed in the amendments that were presented.
okay,
I don't have any other conditions that I wrote down, unless our professionals do.
Just a catch-all, stormwater for the NJDP requirements.
okay,
I'm sorry, stormwater,
A catch-all for ultimate review by the township engineer for
Okay.
NJDP major development compliance.
We want to say anything about that one area, the parking, where it just hatched wrong, where there was no way to get to it, that they're going to adjust that rendering?
I don't think that has to be a condition. We'll catch it in resolution compliance, yeah. It didn't change the number.
and if I can, just for the record, sheet P10 is the revised version updated on October 3rd, 2024.
any other conditions? Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Weckstein?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Ms. Naparado? Yes. Mr. Schewitz?
Yes.
And Chair Cohen?
Yes. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time with this, and congratulations.
Thank you, Councilor.
Motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor, aye. Thank you.